Hey, babe, why don't we get the dog to stop barking? Thank you.
And that's how we will start.
That is how we're starting on YouTube, if you are joining us on YouTube. Thank you for joining us on YouTube for this edition of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate. And we just went live on Facebook. So here is the pause for the editing podcast purposes. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate here with Sam and Tate on Fantasy Focus, brought to you by the Original Hooters. I'm Derek Tate alongside Samantha Holt as we are breaking down some debate topics heading into Week 7 of the NFL action. But Sam, good to see ya.
Always good to see you, Derek. You know, Wednesdays, this is what we do. It's our thing. We always drink. For me, it's Whiskey Wednesdays. For you, it looks like something else.
It's Wine Wednesday. It's Rosé Wednesday.
It's a rosé day.
I'm out of beer. I drank my beer from earlier today.
Sure you did. You didn't drink the other wine.
I was drinking Ocasey, which is apparently a barrel-aged 45 barrel-aged cider. Look, every now and then I go to some wineries or something of that nature up here in northern Michigan because there's not much else to do in northern Michigan. So there I am. I come away with Ocaseys and cheap bottles of rosé. Look, we have got other topics. You took too long to respond, so I'm taking the response out of your hand at this point.
That's fine. Yeah, please do. I just, you were rambling, so I just did what I normally do.
Oh, I was rambling now.
I just phased and got myself more mentally prepared for the debates I'm going to win in.
So we do have plenty of debates. Of course, we have some folks joining in and watching us live here, so we want to go ahead and give them a quick shout out. BN Dried Ocean, Fredley Jimenez, Will Jenkins, of course, Levy, Fantasy Focused himself joining. So thank you for joining us, everybody. But on today's debate topics, we've got Robby Anderson or Jamison Crowder. So we're doing a bunch of rest of the season. Who would you rather have? To kind of set the table, you understand where we're going. But you can also hit us with some live questions in the comment section. We always appreciate and love answering those for the upcoming week of NFL action. But on today's slate, we're going to be talking about some specific either-ors on this episode. Robby Anderson or Jamison Crowder, Dalvin Cook or Nick Chubb, Sam Darnold or Jameis Winston. Which of the wider receivers from the Minnesota Vikings would you rather have, Stefon Diggs or Adam Thielen? And then, of course, at the tight end spot, Austin Hooper or Hunter Henry. So let's go ahead and start off with kind of the biggest names at the biggest position in all of fantasy football. Let's start at running back. And we've got Dalvin Cook, who's been an absolute monster this entire season. Really the guy that I wouldn't say he's been the biggest surprise of the fantasy football season, but given where you drafted him amongst the low-end RB1 / high-end RB2s, you're probably sitting pretty at a winning record through the first 6 weeks if you have Dalvin Cook on your roster. But the same can kind of be said for Nick Chubb. And if you actually got them in both of those running backs in your league, then you're probably sitting very pretty, as Nick Chubb's had a very good start to the season. But who do you like more for the rest of 2019, Nick Chubb or Dalvin Cook?
I think I'm going to have to go with Dalvin Cook. Nick Chubb has been fantastic, and I know it's completely up in the air, but when Kareem Hunt does come back, it is going to be interesting to see how they plug him in and how much that eats into Chubb's time and his carries. I feel like he's certainly earned the number one role. It'd be crazy of them to completely just give that away, but there is no other competition for Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. So to me, rest of the season, no risks. Stick with Dalvin Cook. He's healthy. He's looking great. He's averaging, I think, more. He's averaging more fantasy points than Nick Chubb. I mean, overall, he's averaging just slightly more on everything. So I'm riding pretty with Dalvin Cook.
So I'm going to go ahead and actually disagree with you on this one.
No, you never disagree with me.
I mean, on the fantasy debate, I mean, what's the point of debating if you don't disagree a little bit?
We agree back and forth, and the show is over.
Rub-a-dub-dub, give the ball to Nick Chubb. And we've seen the Cleveland Browns do that through the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. I know the Cleveland Browns are yet to hit their stride consistently on the offensive side of the football, right?
Yeah, because Baker Mayfield has been a half dumpster fire, half like smoking fire in a dumpster.
I thought you'd have something better than that. Come on.
I'm working on it. I'm not done with my whiskey yet. I'll get smarter.
he's been burning the football in the oven while he's been baking in the kitchen, because right now Freddie Kitchens is cooking up nothing on the offensive side of the football for them to really be in the proper position to best utilize and maximize the potential of this offense there in Cleveland. And he has no multiple passing touchdown games through the first 6 weeks of the season. With Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, regardless of an injury to David Njoku, to me, that's damn near inexcusable. I know he suffered a bit of a hip injury in the last game, but come on.
No, it's been abysmal. It's been absolutely abysmal. Every hype that we've talked about, and you and I talked about this preseason, our excitement for the Browns offense, which obviously still sounds weird now. The only time it made sense was in the hype in the preseason when we were like, oh, got all these weapons. Mayfield's going to totally just destroy. Like, based on everything he did last year, based on all the new things they acquired in the offseason, nothing is panning out for them in that aspect. The only thing that's working out is Nick Chubb.
Agreed that Nick Chubb has done his part, and that he doesn't have, like, Dalvin Cook doesn't have Kareem Hunt looming his return on the horizon. So, but I disagree with you in the fact that Alexander Mattison is a nice second option and actually complements what Dalvin Cook does very well. And look, 2 of the last 3 games, I think that a lot of Dalvin Cook's success through the first month of the season, or to start the 2019 season, had to do with a lot of the matchups that he faced. I know that he had a great game against what has been a pretty good defense there in Green Bay so far in 2019. But other than that, he's torched the Giants, Raiders, and the Atlanta Falcons. Two of his last 3 games, he's failed to top 45 yards rushing. Now, granted, he's still having plenty of involvement in the passing game, catching 14 balls over the last 3 weeks. So, look, we're dissecting 2 different two correct answers. My apologies. Mm-hmm. But as far as what I've seen on the ground from Nick Chubb, he doesn't have the offensive line that Cook has over in Minnesota, but the schedule also gets much easier for the Cleveland Browns down the home stretch. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like a little bit more. There's some tough defenses over there in the NFC North. Mm-hmm. So for me, I like Nick Chubb. I love what his involvement's been this entire season, but really it is trying to choose between 2 correct answers.
Yeah. Let's just jump into some quick questions that we've got. Thanks, guys, for throwing those in. TS, defensive question to start off the night. Patriots or Bills defense? I own both. Well, they both have really good matchups this week in that the Pats are against the Jets and the Bills are against the Dolphins. So looks like 2 right answers to me as well. Personally, anyone playing against the Dolphins, safe bet there. I would play the Bills.
You know, with Sam Darnold being back, I actually think that the Jets are going to be okay on the offensive side of the football. And we're going to talk a little bit about later some of their pass catching options, but the Dolphins haven't really shown me anything. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Bills this week against the Miami Dolphins, as opposed to the Patriots defense, who's been playing great all year.
So there you go, TS. Derek and I agree on one thing to start the night.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jordan Windsor, would you trade away Rashad Penny for Alexander Mattison? This kind of plays into what we were just talking about.
No, I wouldn't. I would stick with Rashad Penny, being that it's still always going to be Alexander Mattison in a complimentary role.
Yep.
If Chris Carson has issues securing the football and starts to fumble yet again, we could see more and more of Rashad Penny, whereas I don't think anything outside of an injury to Dalvin Cook is when we would see more of Alexander Mattison.
Yeah, it's that job security there for Chris Carson, so I have to agree with you there.
Stop agreeing with me.
Okay. Well, it's probably good that we agree on the questions. Otherwise, we're just going to keep confusing people. Matty Voles needs a number 2 running back for this week in a 0.2 per touch 12-teamer. Which trade offer would you take or just pass and roll with AP versus SF? Darren Waller for Carlos Hyde or Hunter Henry for Sony Michel?
I would probably go with Waller for Carlos Hyde. Given that I liked what I saw from Hunter Henry this past week, I didn't expect that 100% did not see Hunter Henry's performance coming. I think it definitely helped game flow wise that they fell behind 21-0, feeding into the fact that they were going to have to toss the ball all over the yard to try to get back into that game that you were actually at, Sam. You actually didn't even like the fact that you were going to have to go to that game, but I'm assuming that it was like a home game for the Steelers, wasn't it?
It was absolutely a home game for the Steelers. It was a beautiful thing to be in LA and see 80% of the stands filled with black and gold with my colors. It was a beautiful game. And I got to share it with my dad, so that made it even cooler because he's the one that made me a Steelers fan. So real special moment. Let's jump back real quick. BN Dried Ocean. Do you think Dak and Chark for TY is a good trade? I already have Russell Wilson.
So clearly you're saying that Dak is expendable.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think that, given how they've been playing this year, I don't think that TY is a huge upgrade over DJ Chark.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I would rather have DJ Chark on my team at this point. I mean, I think that the Colts have been a lot better than what people anticipated given Luck's retirement, but I really like what I've seen out of Charknado, so I would rather have him on my team. See if there's any other option you could expel in order to, pick up another receiver if that's clearly what you need. Okay.
Agreed.
Agreed.
So are we moving on to our next either or?
Yes, let's move on to our next either or. Guys, keep throwing those questions in and we will get back into those as soon as we, get another opportunity or we see a question that I just cannot stop and just throw it up on the board. So we will just get through all those questions for you shortly. Derek, what's our next debate?
So we got Stefon Diggs or Adam Thielen. So the two wide receivers over there in Minnesota. Speaking of which, we've slammed Baker Mayfield for his start to the year.
Yeah,
on the other flip side of the coin, we saw Kirk Cousins get off to a horrible start to the year. Mm-hmm. But over the last 2 weeks, Cousins has put up some solid numbers. So, I mean, if we expect or hope optimistically that Kirk Cousins is going to continue to keep slinging the rock all over the place with one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL at the wide receiver spot in Diggs and Thielen, which one would you feel more confident in or rather have for the rest of the year? I mean, Diggs absolutely lit up the Philadelphia secondary this past week. Career highs pretty much across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing short of lit it up this week with 43.5 fantasy points. I mean, I'm sure that he either destroyed you because you were playing against him or he won you your week 6. But for me, rest of the season, I've got to just stick with clearly Kirk Cousins' main guy and Adam Thielen. He's just winning in targets across the board and consistency. And it's great to see Cousins' numbers keep going up. I mean, first week he had 98 passing yards. I mean, and then this past week he had 333. So it's just continuing going up. And so I think that there's going to be more for both. But I just got to go with the consistency that even showed improved last year. Diggs is a big play guy, but for consistency reasons, I would rather have Thielen.
When we're looking ahead for the Minnesota Vikings, they've already played the Chicago Bears once this season, right? And that's the matchup that pretty much everybody wants to stay away from when it comes to any team in the NFC North and any of their pass catchers. So I like both of the options moving forward. I mean, this upcoming week, they have the Redskins, then followed by the Kansas City Chiefs. So feel confident that at least the next 2 weeks, they're probably going to – both of them should at least see their subsequent volume.
Yeah.
Thielen is definitely the guy that logic says over the last couple of years he sees a higher floor on a weekly basis of volume. But what I saw Stefon Diggs do last week, it's one of those odd questions where you have Diggs on one side, who I think is the superior talent to Adam Thielen. And you get that's why you get some of these just monster games from Stefon Diggs, where if you try to cover him up one-on-one, he just ends up torching whichever DB's in front of him. And this upcoming week, we're going to probably see Josh Norman, who's going to shadow Adam Thielen, right? I'm going to go with Stefon Diggs, even though I like the kiss stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, Adam Thielen with Kirk Cousins. I mean, tell me you know who I'm referencing from pro wrestling.
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, Ric Flair. The Nature Boy, Woo!
Derek, you've got me on quotes for all movies. I can totally get you there. There's a few things that I don't know everything about. I mean, it sucks to admit, but I'm one to admit when I'm not perfect. So there's that.
That's where we differ. I don't.
Where we differ. So really quick, let me just jump to some questions because I see a couple good ones. Fredley Jimenez, thanks for joining us. Thoughts on Henry with no Mariota going forward?
Thoughts are that he's still the focal point of the offense, regardless of whoever is under center. The Tennessee Titans are either going to win football games with Derrick Henry torching opposing defenses, or whether he struggles. It's just whether or not the quarterback gives them more scoring opportunities. Because if Tannehill can at least take advantage of some of the – I think that they have some talented pass catchers there in Tennessee. Corey Davis, A.J. Brown. I like Adam Humphries as a slot option, and Delaney Walker is a solid veteran tight end. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. With the backup quarterback, Tannehill.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill.
If Tannehill is capable
formerly of the Miami Dolphins.
Getting this offense through the air, competent to complement the running game, I like Derrick Henry still. I still think he's a top 20 option and maybe top 12 option for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't see anything dipping really for Henry without Mariota. Mariota's been barely a ball manager. So Tannehill's just a slight upgrade. If anything, I'm not really worried about. Yeah, I'm not overall worried about his numbers plummeting. They're still going to be doing a lot of the same things. The defense there in Tennessee is doing a lot of favors for them. So I don't see his numbers dipping. So I wouldn't necessarily worry, Fredley. I think you're going to be all right. All right, next one from TS. Aaron Rodgers or Carson Wentz?
Are we talking about this week or rest of the season? If we're talking about this week, if we're looking at specific matchups, I need to look at the matchups real quick. My apologies. I don't know who they're playing off the top of my head. Tell me more.
Jeez.
I mean, week 7. So we've got the Eagles and the Packers. Let's see who they're playing. We've got the Eagles who are playing the Dallas Cowboys, and
Packers are playing the Raiders.
Well, then it's Aaron Rodgers without a doubt. The Cowboys have just lost 3 straight, and I know that Wentz has played pretty well against the Dallas Cowboys throughout his entire career. When he's been healthy, but I'm still going to go Aaron Rodgers against a secondary that I've seen get torched on multiple occasions throughout the season. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers as well this week. It's just a safer matchup. The defense there in Oakland doesn't scare me. And I think Rodgers is coming off of a very interesting win, to say the least.
Controversy. Flooded in controversy is what it is.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's definitely not the best. This next question from my league mate, actually, Michael Johnson. Start Dallas Goedert or Fells at tight end, standard scoring. That hashtag there is my team name in our league. Remember the tight ends. I don't want to help Michael with anything because I don't want to see him win in our league ever again. To be fair, he has won our league, I think I want to say 3 times. Not really.
Why are you admitting that on air?
Because I'm going to win this year, and that's why it doesn't matter.
All right. There. Good answer. So if I'm having to take – I'm going Fells. I'm not going with a backup tight end. I love Dallas Goedert, and I actually think that Dallas Goedert would be an instant top 10 tight end if there was no Zach Ertz. But unfortunately, there's Zach Ertz. So until that's not the case, I'm going in other directions other than Dallas Goedert.
Yeah. Go with Fells, I guess, Michael. Or you know what, Michael, why don't you just start no tight end? Just roll the dice. Just see what happens. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. Nothing bad will happen. It'll be all right. Another one really quick before we get back to our debates. Aiden Tabor, Christian Kirk, Emmanuel Sanders, or Miles Sanders for flex this week. The buys are killing me. The buys are killing all of us, Aiden. It is brutal. This is the beginning of the real bad bye weeks.
I thought Miles Sanders looked good last week.
Yeah, he totally did.
Probably one of his best games, if not his best game of the entire 2019 season. I'm going to go with the running back. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, I don't think is healthy. I think he's dealing with a knee issue right now. Kirk is dealing with a high ankle sprain, if I'm not mistaken. So given that the other two options that you mentioned are both dealing with nagging injuries, I'm going with Miles Sanders.
Yeah, go with whoever doesn't have a red dot right next to their name. Definitely safest bet there.
So I'm not allowed to bring up another one.
I don't know what Michael means by this, but I'm going to ignore him because that's what I do when he messages me in Slack and says stupid things. Ignore. Back to our debate.
I can't ignore it if you put it up on the prompter. Then, I mean, like that's like Ron Burgundy saying, "Don't."
If you put it on the prompter, I will read it.
Your boy. I mean, come on. All right. So one of the other debates that we have though is we have tight ends, which Austin Hooper, by the way, has been one of the biggest surprises of the entire fantasy season.
Yes.
Been fantastic week in, week out, nice weekly floor in a PPR format. And the fact that they have some other nice options, whether it be Julio Jones or Calvin Ridley, doesn't seem to be affecting his volume. And he was a top 5 tight end in PPR formats last year.
Yeah.
Do you like him or the guy that just came back and scored 2 touchdowns last week, Hunter Henry?
I honestly prefer the upside of Hunter Henry, and that's only because the Chargers can't seem to put anything together in their passing game. I mean, Keenan Allen's dropping the ball. Mike Williams is always getting off the field because he's getting back to being hurt. I mean, it's just a mess. So for a consistent guy, he's a strong guy. He's obviously a crazy good playmaker. I think that he's going to be the guy I'd rather have right now because, like you just said, there's a lot of other competition there in Atlanta. But I mean,
reacting to 1 week. Come on.
That's not overreaction. No, you are overreacting to Stefon Diggs putting up 42. He's never doing that again. I would easily place that jersey bet right now. He's never getting those numbers again.
Change the subject. You're trying to go back to the other topic.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can't say that, oh, I'm swayed by these numbers and that's why I'm going to go with it and then be like, oh, you're getting swayed by the numbers. We can all be easily swayed by the numbers. It's excitement. It's the hype. But I really think that Hunter Henry has a lot more potential just because Phillip Rivers has that confidence in him in the end zone.
So I'm not saying that Hunter Henry is not a red zone threat. Of course he is. I mean, he's got a big body, has nice hands. And
good smile.
I am the game, Hunter Hurst Henry. That's what I call him. I like him. Triple H, man. Give him the Triple H. But Hooper, the thing is that nothing has changed from last season to this season with the Atlanta Falcons. So, and we've seen Hooper just continue to do what he did last year with subsequent targets, even though Ridley was healthy the whole year. Julio Jones was healthy the whole year. This is still one of the worst defenses in the NFL there in Atlanta, and every single week they're playing from behind, Sam. So we know that Hooper is going to see a ton of checkdowns because Matt Ryan's throwing the ball 40 times a damn game. So if you're telling me that Ryan is going to be throwing the ball that much, Hooper is as efficient and productive as he's been through the first 6 weeks, I'm going with Austin Hooper. What the hell? Like, I know Henry had a nice game last week against when they fell behind by 21 points in the blink of an eye, but I mean, consistently, I don't know what to expect from Hunter Henry on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I just do not feel like the Falcons have been themselves. Yes, they're still throwing a ton.
They are themselves. They throw the ball all the time because they fall behind.
They're 1-5. They're 1-5, but the scores they're putting up don't also they don't balance out and say yes, they're getting a ton of touchdowns based on the scores that they're seeing. They're not.
We don't need touchdowns though. I mean, like in PPR, you need just volume, and
you need volume, sure, but I mean, touchdowns don't hurt. I don't think
they're still putting up points though. I mean, like I'm not saying that they're top 5 in the league in scoring, but they're still putting up points because they're playing from behind every game, and generally they're behind by multiple scores by the time we roll around to the third quarter. So. I mean, a lot of garbage time touchdowns. I mean, we saw them come back from a 17-point deficit against the Atlanta Falcons last week and almost damn near won that game. If it wasn't for Matt Bryant, he almost didn't even hit the damn net when he kicked an extra point. That's how off he was.
Sure.
I just know what I'm getting every week as far as floor volume with Austin Hooper.
I get that. I definitely get that. I understand. Small sample size, Hunter Henry. I get it. You have 2 weeks to look at.
You're right. I'm wrong. It's fine.
But that's the moral of the story. I'm right. You're wrong. Okay. Real quick, getting back to some of our listeners' questions. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Please throw those questions up. We will get to them as soon as we can. Jordan Windsor, thank you for this question. Half point PPR, Devin Singletary or Tyrell Williams?
Go ahead. Do you have an answer real quick?
I just really hate how Tyrell Williams just got, he's still listed as questionable. He's got an issue with plantar fasciitis.
Right.
Like, I just don't have, like.
This is an easy one to me.
Yeah, to me, this was a very easy one. Plantar fasciitis, the pain that you feel in that just literally feels like someone stabbing you in the bottom of the foot when you plant and even when you lift. So I'd rather not have someone who's wincing every time they run down the field.
Well, no, Devin Singletary has now had essentially a month off to be able to get that hamstring right. And prior to him getting hurt, I know that he wasn't seeing a ton of volume in the running game, but damn, were we not all impressed. Whenever he does touch the football, he looked fantastic. He is clearly the best option and most explosive option in the backfield for a Bills team that has one of the better defenses in the NFL. They should be running the football, trying to run the clock out on a consistent basis, week in, week out. Look, if you've held on to Devin Singletary this long, you held on to him because you liked what you saw in the first 2 weeks. Start him this week with confidence.
Gotcha. Yeah. Start him with confidence. I'm really curious about this question because it's directed at me from Cash Locks. I don't know based on the name who this is, but this is a question directly related to my exact lineup. So I'm wondering if this is someone in my work league that's like jumping in and being like, hey, Sam, you want to say yes to that trade that you proposed? I didn't check my phone, so I don't know if it's exactly there, but what do you think about trading CMC for Mixon and Brandon Cooks? Well, I know I want Christian McCaffrey on my team. If you're proposing this trade to me, I'm saying yes. Yeah, I'm going to swipe right on that trade.
Yeah, I would. Let me put it this way. Being that I will separate the situation potentially from this involving you and one of your league mates.
Sure. Well, let's not say it's not an even trade because I want this trade.
It's Christian McCaffrey in a landslide for me. I'd much rather have Christian McCaffrey than Brandon Cooks and Joe Mixon. It's, again, talent-wise, I love Joe Mixon, but their offensive line is terrible. Andy Dalton is not a very good quarterback without the services of A.J. Green, which A.J. Green may be back. And if
he's not coming back. He's not coming back. I think they should trade him.
Well, regardless of what you think about the situation, it doesn't matter what you think.
It doesn't matter what you think. And there's no pending moves.
Because, I mean, you are the host.
I just checked. There's no pending moves. This wasn't done here. But I feel like this is someone at work.
It could be.
Which if it is, then it's Stevie. Yes, I say yes to this trade.
I want CMC in this scenario. So if given those options, I'd go Christian McCaffrey. So are we moving on to more questions? We are. Fredley Jimenez. Thank you again for joining us, my man. Yes. Is Ramsey going to fix the Rams defense? Look, the Rams defense hasn't been the problem with the Rams. It's been their offense. And they didn't have Todd Gurley last week. They scored on their opening drive and then didn't score a single point the rest of the damn game.
It's like they forgot they could run the ball.
They're allowed to run the ball. And by the way, I thought Darrell Henderson looked okay with his limited amount of touches last week. But no, I mean, I know that they just lost Aqib Talib. And Jalen Ramsey, certainly at this point in his career, is an upgrade to what Aqib Talib could give you. But really, the offense has been the issue with the Los Angeles Rams this year. No longer does Jared Goff or Sean McVay are they able to lean on Todd Gurley being the all-world weapon that he was just a couple of seasons ago.
Sure.
And a lot of what they like to do out of their in those Shanahan systems, which is the coaching tree that Sean McVay comes from, is play action. And if you don't have a running game that you have to respect, that means Jared Goff is just having to drop back and try to beat defenses by himself. And do I think he's being exposed a little bit this year? I do.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think that bigger picture with the Rams, I do not think Jalen Ramsey solves the problems that Los Angeles has.
No, I do not think he does either. I think it's also been really disappointing because last year we could rely on all 3 pass catchers for the Rams, and we cannot this year. Now I'm debating benching Brandon Cooks in a couple leagues. I'm debating Robert Woods in a couple leagues. Cooper Kupp seems to be the only real consistent guy there, and he's looking like he's on pace to, go over what yards he would have had if he had a full healthy year last year. But I think having a player like Ramsey on the team isn't going to hurt necessarily. I mean, you've got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Kind of sounds like you just, created your own team on Madden. But so in that sense, I think it's going to help. But the Rams have more problems, like you said, that need to get fixed before we can get too excited.
Correct.
So let's just jump back real quick to one more of our debates questions. And then, guys, we will get to the rest of your questions. Please put them in the comments. Please be specific, too, if you're debating a player for just this week or for the rest of the season, or if you have PPR or standard format, please go ahead and add that in your questions.
So one of the next debates, we have a question when it comes to the New York Jets, because for the entire time that Sam Darnold was not under center, this offense looked completely inept. Le'Veon Bell was basically facing 8 and 9 man boxes. Look, we're not letting Lev Bell beat us. We're going to take him out of the game. That's exactly what opposing defenses did. So Sam Darnold comes back and he beats the Dallas Cowboys. Which one of the pass catchers do you like more for the rest of the year? Is it Robbie Anderson or Jamison Crowder?
Yeah. I mean, looking at their numbers side by side, it's really tough for me because I always tend to go with my votes based on targets. But Robbie Anderson has, 29 targets to Crowder's 40, but he's nearly eclipsing him in yards with 256. It's a big play guy. This guy is crazy fast. I kind of like Anderson going forward rest of the season. I mean, he also has the touchdown over Crowder. I mean, that's just me.
It was one big play.
One big play, sure, but I just like that big play ability. And if you're going to put someone to me, he would be my wide receiver 3 or a flex option, a PPR format. If it's in a deep league, I'm not talking 8 team here.
Look, so what you need to let me go ahead and
tell me how I'm horribly wrong.
I am going to tell you how you're horribly wrong in a PPR format.
I'm excited.
So both of the weeks that we saw Sam Darnold play the entire game for the New York Jets under center, Jamison Crowder was by far his favorite target. It wasn't even close. Saw at least 9 targets both of the weeks that Sam Darnold was under center. And I know that Robbie Anderson had a 92-yard touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys last week. But the volume and the PPR floor that you're going to get with Jamison Crowder week in, week out seems a hell of a lot more safe than a deep threat in Robbie Anderson. If you want to make the argument ceiling every week, Robbie Anderson's always going to have a higher ceiling because he's a big play threat. I understand that. But in a PPR format, I'm taking the guy that for the first 2 weeks has seen at least 9 targets each of those games over a deep threat all day and twice on Sunday.
Sure. But I think that, they do have an interesting schedule too, rest of season. They've got New England this week. It's going to be brutal. But I think that I could see Anderson getting a bigger game than Crowder. If Crowder's the number 1, he's going to get more covered. Then you got Miami.
New England clam Crowder this week. Is it the red or the white?
Ooh, I can never remember that. White.
Yes. Yeah.
We're both such massive nerds. But back to this. I think that they've got a pretty friendly schedule going forward. New England's the only one that scares you right now. Really, Jacksonville hasn't been themselves. They haven't had their Snickers bar, so they're not themselves. Then you got Miami, you got Giants, you got Washington, Oakland. Those don't scare me at all. And I'm even excited to start them with that kind of depth that you could get out of Anderson. So I'm going to stick with him.
On one of my podcasts, I did say on that long touchdown, I said, I'm going to enjoy watching you score, Mr. Anderson. Tell me you know what I'm referencing, please.
The Matrix.
Thank you. Someone in the newsroom was like, why'd you say that? I'm like, are you serious? What the hell? You don't know what I'm talking about when I say Mr. Anderson? I'm going to enjoy watching you die, Mr. Anderson. Anyway.
Well, maybe it was the accent. Were you going to Schwarzenegger with your voice? Because you do play voices too much, and maybe that's what threw him.
No, I was going with Hugo Weaving,
I know who you were going with, but it didn't sound like Hugo Weaving to me. I'm just saying you could do better.
Probably correct. Yeah, I don't do a good Hugo.
All right, real quick, let's jump back to the questions because we've got a lot. All right, Danny Messi, thank you for joining us. Fantasy Focused, I traded Godwin for Julio a couple days ago. Who would you like more rest of season in a standard league?
Ooh, okay.
The standard league is interesting. I'll leave that.
The fact that we're even having this debate is very interesting.
Says a lot about how good Chris Godwin is.
How good he is and how good he's playing. I mean, of course, I'm going to go with Julio. It's still Julio Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that Godwin's had a fantastic start to the year. But if you're telling me that you're cashing out on on Chris Godwin with Julio Jones at this point, I'm not going to blink an eye at it.
No.
Personally, though, in a PPR, I like Godwin more than Julio. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm going Godwin over Julio the rest of the year in a PPR because I love the subsequent floor.
It's the volume of Winston throwing the ball constantly.
Right. And I mean, like, Godwin is still, I guess, to opposing defense, it's considered the number 2. People aren't doubling Chris Godwin. Julio
Which is
Jones,
kind of ridiculous. Like, have you guys not been watching every week? Like,
well, it's harder, but it's harder to double a slot guy. I mean, you can move Chris Godwin all over the formation. You can't do that with Mike Evans.
No.
It's no disrespect to Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a very good receiver, even though he dropped a freaking wide open touchdown against the Carolina Panthers. But
you got to catch those.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you do. You're behind the whole defense. But in a PPR, I actually like Godwin more the rest of the season. But in a standard, I'm definitely okay with going Godwin for Julio.
Yeah, definitely. All right, one more, or we got a couple more. TS has another one for us. Thanks for throwing more questions in. Pick one for flex this week. Full PPR, Robert Woods, Austin Eckler, Marquise Brown, if healthy, and Damian Williams.
There's not a clear answer.
There is not a clear answer. You have a lot of good options for your flex, though. Also good for you. As much as I just said, full point PPR, the Rams are at Atlanta.
Against Atlanta secondary, it is Robert Woods.
It's got to be Robert Woods with that matchup. I mean, it's kind of hard to pass up. Eckler his looks are starting to take a little bit of a nosedive, and I think that they're going to keep kind of plummeting. He's still a great pass option for Rivers, but he's going to start seeing a dip in numbers. Marquise Brown, if healthy, sure. Damian Williams, I mean, of those, I got to stick with Robert Woods. Bobby Woods.
Against Atlanta secondary that is giving up yards to everybody.
Yeah.
Like yards and touchdowns and points to everybody.
You get yards, and you get yards, and touchdowns.
Did you just go Oprah on us?
I did, but you've done that before too, so don't even.
Move on. Next question.
Next question.
Well, I drink my rosé.
You're drinking your rosé.
I'm out of alcohol. What am I going to do?
No, you're not out of alcohol. You like the wine, and I'm drinking whiskey, so cheers. All right, Will Jenkins, thanks for your question, and thanks for being so active. We appreciate it.
By the way, he gave us a big shout out on Twitter.
He did. So we appreciate you so much, Will. Yes, thank you. Full point PPR, LaShawn McCoy, John Brown, Devonta Freeman, Jamison Crowder, or Sony Michel. Full PPR flex. You got to pick one.
I don't like having to pick one.
I know.
I
like to pick two.
So full point PPR. I mean, if the Jets weren't playing the damn Patriots this week, I might go Crowder. Yeah, I know that sounds
matchup
I might
brutal,
go Crowder, but
you've got other options here.
They're playing the Patriots this week. Freeman's playing against the Rams. The one thing that I've liked about Devonta Freeman is, even though he hasn't been tearing it up on the ground or anything like that, he seems to still be very heavily involved in the passing game when they inevitably fall behind to whoever they're playing. This week they're playing against the Rams,
who now have Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, but I don't think that Freeman's going to be seeing any of Jalen Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going Devonta Freeman.
Devonta Freeman, John Brown. I mean,
Shady led the Chiefs in carries last week.
Yeah.
He had 8 when Damian Williams had 1.
Yeah.
Are you taking your merry time on this? Come on.
I am, because I'm comparing my notes. Get off my lawn.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it in the Clint Eastwood voice.
I can't do a Clint Eastwood voice.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. So
go back in the house, old man. Yeah, I'll blow a hole in your face. Go back inside and sleep like a baby.
Jesus. I mean, yeah. I guess I'm going to agree with you on Devonta Freeman, just looking at the matchups back and forth. And the Kansas City running backs have been so up and down. Yeah. Fine, I'll agree with you. Devonta Freeman. Begrudgingly.
You always end up agreeing with me.
Not always.
Not true, not always.
Frank Wonder.
Next question: are we moving on to the final debate? We have one other debate that we got up here.
Let me see if I can pick another good question here.
You're running the board here. Do I need to take over?
No, I know what I'm doing. It's not that hard.
Why don't you minimize what I do on a weekly basis?
Don't minimize what I do.
Don't minimize it.
Ryan B, Devin Singletary, Kerryon Johnson, Keenan, I'm guessing Allen, Andrews, Henry, Ridley, Allen, Robinson, AJ Green, pick 4. Wow, that's a big list.
Holy hell. All right, so I'm going to go Singletary, Keenan, Singletary, Keenan Allen, Kerryon Johnson, and the last one is a little tricky. Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
I'm not giving justification for all 4 players, Ryan B. I'm sorry.
No, that is a lot. That is a lot. I mean, I agree with you on Singletary, Kerryon, Keenan Allen. I'm kind of going back and forth between Robinson and Ridley myself.
Well, wait. Henry, I'm assuming it's Hunter Henry, not Derrick Henry.
Right?
If it's Derrick Henry, I'm going Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Ryan B, if you want to throw us up real quick, which Henry you mean? There's a couple others. This is almost like last week when someone said Johnson, and we're like, dude, there's just
need a
too
little
many.
clarification when it comes to Johnson.
Be a little bit more specific, please. Just a tiny bit. Yeah, that would help.
It reminds
too.
me of that scene in Austin Powers, like where it goes, "Sir, it looks like a big." Never mind. Ain't wrong. Move on.
Moving on. We'll just go real quick here then. Josh Allen or Carson Wentz? Go
Carson
Birds.
Wentz.
Carson Wentz. Yeah.
Josh Allen, he's still progressing as a passer. Like, yeah, he has that immense rushing floor, but I'm still going with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been pretty good this year.
Yeah, and he's, knock on wood, been healthy, so got to stick with Carson Wentz there. All right, thanks, guys.
I'm jumping in one. I'm taking control of the board real quick here.
Don't drive. I like driving.
I am not a traitor. It's just Julio's really good. And Bobino Rosas. On our live show, you did join us and asked me if you should start Hunter Henry this week, and I said you should go in a different direction, and I was wrong. I just want to formally apologize to people that I give bad advice to or when I was wrong. I like to call myself out. So, Rosas, this is my on-air apology. But we got one more debate to have.
All right, let's get at it.
And I don't know if it's much of a debate, but you can go ahead and try to debate otherwise. Who would you rather have for the rest of the season? And we just saw a solid performance from Sam Darnold, who beat a good Dallas Cowboys team. And we just saw Jameis Winston turn the ball over 6 times against the Carolina Panthers. But we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the fact that Jameis Winston has definitely had some very quality fantasy performances this year prior to turning the ball over 6 times against the Panthers in London. So who would you rather have for the rest of the season if you were in a pinch at quarterback or in 2QB league or whatever your scenario is, Winston or Sam Darnold?
It's so difficult because Jameis Winston makes it so difficult to root for him and also just to start him. I mean, what are those Sour Patch commercials where it's like first it's, sweet and then it's sour, then it's sour, then it's sweet? That's totally what Winston does to you every week because he had all those interceptions, but he had 400 yards. And it's so good. It's so bad. It's so good. It's so bad. I think it's
Winston if he starts the rest of the year. The problem is
if he starts. The problem is the job going to be his the rest of the year? As a Bucs fan, do you think it's going to be his job rest of the year? Do you see him getting benched? Realistically, your, patriotism to your Bucks aside.
I do not see Winston getting benched the rest of the year, strictly because it's
You
not
don't
like
really know the names of the backups.
Well, I mean, no, it's Ryan Griffin behind him, and as much as Ryan Griffin has done okay with his preseason work, whenever I've seen him, I mean, they invested no draft capital in him. It's not like they feel likely that they have anything as far as anything significant with him moving forward into the future, their future plans as a team. Mm-hmm. So I am not thinking that Winston's going to get benched. However, if he has another game where he turns the ball over 6 times, that could change very quickly. But as far as pure fantasy value, I mean, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are easily better than any of the options at the pass catching spot than for the New York Jets. So, and their philosophy, the Jets have a good defense. People are sleeping on that. New York Jets have a very good defense.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they put pressure on you with Todd Bowles and a lot of blitzes, they don't have a very good defense. So they allow the most passing yards per game in the NFL through the first 6 weeks of the season. So for me, it's Jameis Winston for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I guess Jameis Winston the rest of the year too. I suppose.
It's okay. Mike Panu agrees with you because Tate only gives bad advice when he's speaking. That's really rude. But...
All right. I picked the final debate question last week. So
we have another listener question.
All right. One more listener question from Two Visions. Last one. Unless you guys want to add us.
Fingers. One more.
Yeah. And then you guys can add us on Twitter. Derek is at dtater4. I'm at Samantha Arholt on Twitter. So go ahead and shoot us your questions. Happy to answer them. Two Visions, your question. Pick 3 for this week. DJ Chark, Duke Williams, Marvin Jones, Alan Lazard. Packers signed Ryan Grant today due to injuries, and John Brown did not practice.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you even know who Duke Williams plays for?
No.
It's the Buffalo Bills. Come on, Sam. Come on.
That's deep. That's a deep one.
It's a deep question.
So
DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Alan Lazard.
Yeah. Easy.
Duke Williams intrigues me, though. Does intrigue me.
Doesn't intrigue me enough to start this week.
Doesn't intrigue you enough to Google him to see who he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it a Google, but that's about it.
Fair enough. But, I mean, Two Visions. I mean, I'm going to ask you, how many teams are in this league? Because if you're considering starting Duke Williams or Alan Lazard, I'm assuming that it's a pretty deep league.
Yeah, it has to be at least a 16-team league, right?
I'm going to say 14.
14. Fine. Just don't agree with me on one thing.
If I had guess, I tell you what, man, I think it's a 14-team league, man. Spider 2 wide banana all day. Speaking of Spider 2 wide banana, what do we have as the final debate, man? I tell you.
I asked the question last week for a final debate question. I believe my question was, if you had to pick a song to walk out to, what would be your song? And you were like, I don't.
The final debate. Okay.
Yeah, I do the final debate.
So upon further review, I mean, I did say Headstrong by I think it was like Nickelback or some shit. I don't know artists and stuff like that. I mean, I'm great with like players, stats and stuff like that in the NFL and movie quotes and actors and shit like that. But I am egregiously terrible at stuff involving music. But I do like We Ready. We Ready is what I used to listen to whenever I ran out onto the field in a football game back in high school and in like when I played in college. So that was always like the shit that was playing in the locker room. So it did kind of get you in that right mindset. I mean, I don't listen to that shit before I go and do a sports cast though, or anything like that. It's not like I wasn't sitting here bumping Headstrong or anything like that, or We Ready before we, went live to do the fantasy debate.
You didn't? I was listening to Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Is that your song?
No. No, I told you mine last week. It was Space Jam.
I know, but I mean, like,
that is my song for everything.
Upon further review, I mean, is it still Space Jam?
It is still Space Jam. I've listened to it like 10 times since I last talked to you.
Welcome to the Space
Jam. It's such a good song. Oh, and real quick, Ryan B did get back to us in this question. For the Henry, he meant Hunter Henry. So does that change your answer?
That's what I'm saying. Then it would be Allen Robinson. Yes. So, and by the way, 2 Visions answered, and it was 14-team league.
It's a big league.
I just have an intuition about these things, a gut feeling. Johnny Boy, he did say, though, because the Bills are playing the Miami Dolphins this week.
Sure.
Duke Williams, any receiver starting or playing against the Miami Dolphins and seeing significant snaps is worthy of consideration for a start.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially in DFS, I feel like that'd probably be a really good play.
Trapped, headstrong. Very possible that I got the wrong damn song group, band, artist as the person. But Johnny Boy, don't know if I should play Adrian Peterson or TJ Hawkinson in my flex in standard scoring. Adrian Peterson ran for over 100 yards last week.
Yeah.
I'm still going Hawk.
Yeah.
I don't trust Adrian. I do not trust the Washington Redskins outside of Terry McLaurin.
Outside of Terry McLaurin, it is hard to trust any player. I completely agree. So flex, I feel like you have a better floor with Hawkinson for sure. Go with the Hawk.
I don't have any clever, movie quotes or anything for the Hawk. I'll have to do some research this week. Nothing off the top of the head. I'm not Buck. I mean, Bucky, you never go full Bucky because Bucky just knows his shit. So
yeah. I told Levy he should put up a post for a poll on Twitter and see who the fan favorite is of the 4 of us. I think that Bucky's going to beat us all in a landslide because of his isms.
I'm definitely last. I'm the asshole that just gives you obnoxious analysis. No one likes that guy. That's not the favorite guy.
That's definitely the favorite guy. It's definitely Bucks. Bucks is a favorite. He's hilarious.
Yeah, Buck's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, damn it. I almost threw an F-bomb. Can't do that. I can't let it get into my head. Point being, that'll do it for this episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate. If you guys are just now joining us for the first time, whether it be on YouTube or joining or listening to us via podcast, however you digest your podcast, please go ahead and subscribe. Drop us a like, a review. We really appreciate any and all of the support on all the forums. It's been a lot of fun and will continue to be fun. We just had our 200th episode on our actual fantasy-focused, channel itself. And I almost got a little teary-eyed. And apparently my tribute, my intro, got Levy a little teary-eyed himself.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know. I'm drinking rosé, so I need to sign off before I start getting teary-eyed. Might get a little emotional here.
Yeah, go to the fridge and get you some Ben & Jerry's. You'll be all right.
Oh, grow up. Anyway, so you can find Sam on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt. You can find her on Instagram at Sam All Things Awesome, I believe it is, or Sam _awesome. Sam _awesome, right?
Yes, Sam _awesome. Not All Things Awesome, because that's just a little bit too conceited.
I actually think you should just roll with it. Me, it's Dtater4 on both avenues. And until next time, later, says the Tater.
Later, guys.